For 28 years, there was no more terrorism. For 28 years, there was no more terrorism. Look it up. In the Philippines, General Pershing, rough guy, tough guy. 28 years, they say, there was no more terrorism. Now, we can be babies. We can be foolish. We have to be vigilant. We have to be strong. We have to be smart. When Paris happened, it was sort of an amazing thing, that attack in Paris, where the press was calling the leader the mastermind. And the kids, we're losing our children. They're going over there fighting for ISIS because the press calls people masterminds. He's not a mastermind. He's not a mastermind at all. He's not even an intelligent person. I call him the guy with the dirty hat. Remember the white hat? I call him the guy. So they send people in because Paris, by the way, has the toughest gun laws in the world, just about. France has the toughest gun laws in the world. Only the bad guys have the guns. Now, if a few of you, like that guy with his hand up, a few of you had guns wrapped around your hips or guns wrapped around your ankles and you were in that room and you had bullets going in the opposite direction, I guarantee there wouldn't have been 130 people killed, many other people in the hospital right now. So we have to totally protect our Second Amendment, folks. We have to do it. We have to protect our Second Amendment. In California, when you had the radicalized woman come over and radicalize probably the young man, now they're radicalized, and they go in and they kill their fellow workers. Workers that gave them baby showers and parties. Workers that they knew. Workers that, from what I hear, they liked. They went in and they killed 14 of them. Others, like in Paris, in the hospital, will never, ever be the same. They went in, boom, 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 boom. No guns coming the other way. The military, the 5 military people that were killed in a gun-free zone, think of it, in a gun-free zone on a military base. Now, we have soldiers protecting us. Why do we have gun-free zones on a military base? I mean, that would mean that you should never have your soldiers have guns. And all these guys that complain about guns, like Michael Bloomberg, who used to be a friend of mine, by the way. Like many of them, they're complaining about guns. So here's what you do. Tell them immediately to take the guns away from their bodyguards right now. Take the guns away from their bodyguards. And let's see how they feel walking around certain places, okay? Let's see if they're happy. I don't think they're going to be too happy. So we're going to protect our Second Amendment, me, more than anybody else up here. We're going to protect our Second Amendment. We are going to get rid of Common Core. We are going to bring our education locally with love. Unlike Jeb Bush, he used to say that people come in as an act of love. Oh, there's no act of love. So we're going to get rid of a lot of things. We're getting rid of Obamacare. We're replacing it, okay? We're getting rid of Common Core, and we're going to have our education locally. I tell this story. In 30 countries in education, 30 countries, the United States is rated number 30. You have Denmark, Sweden, Norway, China, and others. They're the best. And yet, in terms of cost per pupil, we're number 1 by far. Number 2 doesn't even exist. It doesn't even exist. It's so far down. Now, here's what's happened with the campaign. So we're number 1 in cost, and we're the least, we're the worst in terms of education. You have third world nations with better educational systems than our country that we love. We can't have, we talk about the American dream. People can't have the American dream if they don't get educated. I mean, it's just not going to happen. We need education. So remember, the most expensive, the least for the buck, right? Now, my campaign, let's talk. I've spent the least amount of money, and I'm number 1 by a lot. I'm killing everybody. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be beautiful? I mean, in New Hampshire, which was really just a great place and a great state, and I told them, we're going to stop heroin from coming in. We're going to clog up that border. We're going to stop heroin. That's all over the country. But in New Hampshire, they have an unbelievable thing. But in New Hampshire, I spent $2 million, and I was number one in a landslide, right? It was a landslide. Do we agree? Even those people would say, it was a landslide. They don't know what's happening. It was a landslide. I was number one, and I spent very little. Somebody else spent $48 million. So I spent in New Hampshire very, very little money. And somebody, I won't mention names, but somebody spent $48 million and lost and came at the bottom of the pack. We don't want that, folks. Wouldn't you rather be with me and let's spend less and have the best? That's what's going to happen. I'm building a hotel now on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, and I guess I'm doing it for two reasons. Number one, I do it because I do it. That's what I do. But I got it from General Services, GSA, very professional people, by the way. Of course, if I didn't get it, I probably wouldn't be saying that, but that's okay. But I got it. One of the most heavily bid, one of the most heavily contested in the history of the GSA. It was probably wanted by more people than any other thing. You know, it's on Pennsylvania Avenue, right between the White House and the Capitol building. The most incredible building, the most incredible location. They gave it to Trump for two reasons. I have the best statement you've ever seen. They got to make sure it gets done. And they love the project. It's going to be one of the world's most luxurious hotels. We'll employ a lot of people and all of that. And they made the decision, and they boiled it down to 10 companies, great companies. I won't name the companies, but you heard of every one of them. And they chose, in the Obama administration, they chose Trump. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? Which tells you two things. Number one, I have a great statement, and it also tells you we have a great concept. And it will. It'll be one of the great hotels of the world. But here's the story. So we started construction. We're 2 years ahead of schedule. We were supposed to open in September 2 years from now, and instead we're opening up in September before the election. Isn't that great? So listen to this. So we're under budget and 2 years ahead of schedule. Wouldn't we love to have a country that could do that? You ever see these? Do you ever see these projects that we have where there's a 2,000% cost overrun and 1,000%? You know what 1,000%? Where it costs many times what they projected? That won't happen with me, folks. It doesn't happen with me. Do you know, we have contractors in this country that bid on these government jobs. They are so rich, you have no idea. They are so rich. They make so much money. They take the money from government. That's not going to happen with me. I will start a new set of procedures where that stuff doesn't happen, folks. We can do that. It won't happen. Now, the nice part about the hotel, if I don't win, I'm living on Pennsylvania Avenue anyway, okay? All right? So now, the new group is trying to stop Trump. And that's going to make a lot of people happy. And they actually mentioned in some of the papers that if that happened, where we're doing so well, there'd almost be a revolution. It would be. I mean, because the last thing that you people are going to take is having a lightweight like a Marco Rubio, who's terrible, having a guy like this, or Lion Ted Cruz, or some politician in charge of this. We can't have it anymore. We can't have it anymore. I really mean, they're talking about serious problems. But here's the story. So now what they're doing is they're saying, you know what, we may not be able to stop Trump. By the way, speaking of Trump, and speaking of stopping and helping, you've got to get out to vote, folks. You've got to. Now, remember this. It's Tuesday the 15th, Tuesday. So it's not this Tuesday, it's the following Tuesday. It's Tuesday the 15th. You know what I would do? Just in case you get sick, you don't feel good. And even if you get sick and you can't walk, you got to get up. Have somebody lift you up. I'll even call you. I'll pay for it. I'll get an ambulance. But listen, here's what you have to do. You have to get it. So it's not this Tuesday, it's the following Tuesday. If we win Florida, it's over. If we win Florida and Ohio, it's really over, okay? And I think we have a good chance. Now, look, in Florida, you can early vote. You can get, right? You can go out and you can vote early. So go and do it. Go vote. You got it. Okay, wait. Let's do a pledge. Everybody here, who likes me in this room? Okay. I've never done this before. Can I have a pledge, a swearing? Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I, no matter how I feel, no matter what the conditions, if there's hurricanes or whatever, that's good enough, will vote on or before the 12th for Donald J. Trump for president. Thank you. Now I know. Don't forget, you all raised your hand. You swore. Bad things happen if you don't live up to what you just did. No, I really appreciate it. I mean, we're having an amazing period. It's an amazing period. You know, they used to call this the silent majority, but it wasn't nearly as big like this. They used to call it the silent majority, and I was sort of using that name, and some people didn't like that name because for whatever reason they said it had sort of bad connotations, okay? But I don't need that name because we're not the silent majority. We're the really noisy majority, right? Don't you think? So now what they're trying to do, the establishment, and you know, they had the wrong messenger in Romney. I mean, how do you use a guy who should have won an election and lost horribly and made a fool out of himself? So they had a bad messenger. Hey, there are messages that could be good. There are messages could be good, but he's the wrong messenger. But let me just tell you. So now what they're thinking of doing, because they don't think they can stop us, all right? Maybe they can. I don't know. Hey, look, my life is okay. I mean, a lot of people say, why are you doing this? You have such a great life. You built this great company. You have a wonderful family. I'm doing it because this country was so great to me. It's payback time, folks. It's payback time. So now, what these absolute naive people, they're naive. What they want to do now, they don't know if they can stop Trump, so they want to start a third party. Remember, I did the pledge that I wouldn't do that. So I do a pledge, and then they do it, right? Okay? Thank you. That's all right. Get them out. Get them out of here. So I do a pledge, and then they don't do a pledge. But they did a pledge, but they don't honor anything. But here's the story. So they want to start a third party. And they want to put a couple of clowns in there that will take away enough votes that we won't be able to beat Hillary, right? So this woman, just think of it. We lost a great justice, Justice Scalia. My sister is a high judge, and she knew Justice Scalia, and she said he was a great man. She said he was a great man. My sister knew him very well. And we lost a great judge unexpectedly. See, this is what happens in life. Nobody ever talked about him. It wasn't going to be him. You have people that are older on the court. You have people that they thought were going to be leaving. You had other. Nobody ever talked. And all of a sudden it happened out of nowhere. One day you pick up, he was a great judge, a conservative judge, a brilliant judge, a fair judge. He had so many qualities, and a brilliant judge. And that's what we want to replace with, as close to him as we can get. And I even gave some names. I won't give them now, but I even gave some names of great conservative judges. Okay, so here's the story. Here's the Republicans, and this is where it doesn't work for them. It's called the Supreme Court. Because let's say they put a couple of Republicans just as scapegoats. They can't win, but they'll put in a couple of Republicans, and these Republicans will take off 5%, 2%, 3% of the vote, right? And now Hillary